The Prebisch Singer Hypothesis, PSH, developed by Raoul Prebisch and Hans Singer in the late 1940s, argues that the terms of trade for countries exporting primary commodities, like raw materials, food and minerals, tend to deteriorate over the long term relative to countries exporting manufactured goods. Intuitively, this means that over time, a developing country has to export an ever-increasing amount of coffee beans or copper ore to afford the same imported tractor or smartphone. The gains from international trade, therefore, are systematically skewed against the primary product exporters, trapping them in a cycle of relative poverty. Intuitive pillars of the PSH. The hypothesis rests on two main sets of reasons, one related to demand and the other to market structure and technology. 1. Demand-side asymmetry, the satiation effect. The primary driver is the income elasticity of demand, YED, how much the demand for a good changes as people's incomes rise. Primary commodities low YED. As people in rich countries get richer, their demand for basic food and raw materials doesn't increase by much. Once you can afford enough coffee and food, you don't buy twice as much when your income doubles. This is related to Engels' law. The demand for these goods is inelastic with respect to income. Manufactured goods, high YED. As people get richer, their demand for high-tech gadgets, luxury cars, sophisticated services, and new versions of products, like the latest smartphone model, grows much more rapidly. The demand for these goods is elastic with respect to income. Intuition. The global engine of economic growth, rising world income, primarily fuels demand and price increases for manufactured goods, not for the commodities that developing countries sell. 2. Supply-side asymmetry, the power effect. This relates to how gains from technological progress are distributed in different markets. Manufactured goods, monopoly power. Industrialized nations often have oligopolistic or monopolistic markets for manufactured goods with strong labor unions. When technology makes production cheaper, increases productivity, the profits are largely retained by the powerful companies and organized workers through higher wages, rather than being passed on to the consumer as lower prices. Primary commodities, competition. The primary sector, agriculture and mining, is highly competitive, and developing countries often compete intensely with each other. When technology improves or productivity increases, the competitive pressure forces producers to quickly pass the cost savings on to the buyer in the form of lower prices. Intuition. Technological progress in the rich world raises the price of its manufactured exports, or at least stops them from falling, while technological progress in the poor world drives down the price of its commodity exports. The benefits of innovation flow to the core. Suitable example, coffee and tractors. Imagine a coffee exporting country, country south, and a tractor manufacturing country, country north. Event, coffee, primary commodity. Tractor, manufactured good. Result on terms of trade, South's exports. Rising world income. Demand rises slowly because people only drink so much coffee. Demand rises quickly for more sophisticated tractors and machinery. Relative demand shifts against South. New farming technique. Cost of production drops. Intense competition forces South to lower the export price to keep market share. Cost of production drops. Strong union/oligopoly allows North to keep prices high and enjoy higher profits/wages. South's export prices fall relative to North's import prices. Conclusion. Country South has to sell 100 bags of coffee today, where it only had to sell 50 bags 20 years ago to buy the same model of tractor from country North. The terms of trade have deteriorated for the coffee exporter. Interrelated facts and policy implications. 1. Terms of trade, ToT. Definition. The core concept of the PSH is the net barter terms of trade, NBTT, which is the ratio of a country's export price index to its import price index left. ToT equals frac P underscore export P underscore import right. The PSH asserts this ratio will fall for primary product exporters. 2. Dependency Theory. The PSH is a major pillar of dependency theory. It provided the empirical and theoretical justification for the idea that the global economic structure itself, the division between the industrialized center and the commodity-producing periphery, is the root cause of underdevelopment. 3. Import Substitution Industrialization (ISI). The most direct policy recommendation stemming from the PSH was Import Substitution Industrialization (ISI). Prebisch argued that to escape the declining terms of trade, developing countries must diversify away from primary products and industrialize by producing manufactured goods locally, substituting for imported ones, often using tariffs and subsidies to protect their infant industries. The PSH remains one of the most significant and controversial contributions to development economics, fundamentally challenging the classical view that free trade based on comparative advantage always benefits all participants.